Welcome to INNOV-8 Presents Entrepreneurs in Tech. Today we're delighted to have our guest, Dr. Dean Anthony. Dr. Dean Anthony, pleasure to have you on the show. Dr. Anthony is also an author, technology influencer, analyst, and a futurist. And if you can give us a quick introduction about yourself and a bit of insights before we dive into it and some background, and we're ready to dive into it.
Okay. Well, my name is Dean Anthony Gratton, and yes, I'm a writer. I've published a book with my wife last year on artificial intelligence, namely playing God with artificial intelligence. I largely think my background in software engineering lends itself well to how technology is built and developed. And how largely I'm a problem solver. So as a software engineer, I developed embedded systems and Windows device drivers. I was heavily medicated for safety reasons with the Windows device drivers. And I built several products for the consumer and industry, and as a solution architect, also blue sky thinking about how should we, essentially, you want to fly to the moon. Okay, I'll work that out for you and we can do that. And I will build a system or an ecosystem that would allow us to, say, fly to the moon. But more on a personal level, be smart meters, IoT, and so on. And that's what I've done for the last 30 years. I've made technology for the last 30 years. And my speciality was wireless and telecoms primarily. And which has lent itself quite well to writing several books on wireless technology and various columns talking about wireless technology and its future. And I'm also today, as I said, playing God with artificial intelligence. So this is how I think, because I view artificial intelligence today as nothing more than clever programming, smart technology, despite the hype.
Yes, despite the hype. It is overhyped, and is the hype kind of going to in the wrong direction? That a lot of misinterpretation going on with AI and how it works, or we haven't really, as a general public, haven't even scratched the, as they say, we scratch even the top of it yet, out of AI.
But the thing is, as I said, it's clever programming and smart technology, and that's where it is. Often I see, you got the likes of the films, like Megan, for example, portraying a robot that's gone a little nuts, and you've got television programs and other science fiction, and of course, now we're trying to transition this science fiction into reality. Creating superintelligence is bounced around as well. We're nowhere near really understanding, because we do have an insensitive belief in something we have not entirely understood. Because when you take it back to a group in 1955 led by Dr. John McCarthy, he penned together some people to think about how could we do this? How could we replicate human cognition in a machine using software? And that's for me, that was the father of artificial intelligence, and it's the replication of human-like cognition in a machine using software. And we see this today with things like the large language models, natural language processing things, and even with I won't say it out loud because I have one right here and she's quite annoying. It's an Amazon Echo called, and the thing is, when you have a conversation with her, or try to have a conversation with her, she really doesn't truly understand the nonsense of the human language. And I think that's a long time to come. I think with the large language models, because you're writing it and that software has the ability to parse and interpret what you're trying to say and what you're trying to achieve. So it can, I suppose it it could achieve a more steadfast understanding, or actually, understanding is the wrong word, interpretation of what you're trying to get out of it with prompt engineering and so on. So I don't think we're anywhere near the doom and gloom that's portrayed often by movies and so on. That's a long way off.
Very interesting. What intrigued me, to one of the things that kind of intrigued me, get you on the show, the title of your book, Playing God.
Yeah.
Are we really playing God?
Well, in terms of transitioning this science fiction into reality, I'm wanting to create these humanoids that have an ability to be conscious, to be self-aware, to be to have the ability to rationalize and think for themselves and even question their own existence. Then yeah, we are playing God. We are playing God because we think we're smarter than God, and I think maybe that's foolish. It's driven by an ego and arrogance of humankind, thinking they can do better. And of course, if we do ever achieve that ability for that humanoid to achieve those facets, human-like facets, then we could probably tread a path that's probably disastrous. And when the humanoids think for themselves and say, "Well, hang on a minute, there's the humankind is really messing up the planet, and therefore they serve no purpose. Let's get rid of them." They might come to that conclusion. So it's a dangerous path we're taking. Mm-hmm. And of course, so I started by saying the replication of human-like cognition in a machine. Well, largely, you talk to neurologists and psychologists and so on about how the human mind is formed with consciousness and so on. We don't truly understand it. I had a conversation a few weeks ago with a PhD psychologist, and she asked me, where does it come from? How does it manifest itself in your brain? And I can't answer that. And if a doctor of psychology can't answer it either, then what are the chances anyone else with a medical background can do the same? And it hasn't been answered. And the thing is, it's about the replication of human-like cognition. If we truly understand how it's formed in the human brain, then yeah, we can take that and reverse engineer it and understand it better. We can then, I think I talk in the book about the digital twin. Maybe we would replicate things like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's and so on in a digital twin to better understand what are the triggers that lead toward those neurological diseases. But it's about understanding how these things are formed in the brain, and it's the noggin is quite a magical place.
Interesting. How do you approach how do you approach the complex technologies like AI and Industry 4.0?
Okay, so that's straightforward. The thing is, here's the exaggeration with technology at the moment. It's being misconstrued.
Yes.
But the thing is, largely, technology has been leading industry for some time. It's just that everybody's jumped onto the AI bandwagon, and everything that has an algorithm at its base is AI. Well, that's certainly not the case. It's just clever programming. And since the Industrial Revolution, where you got automation and so on aiding the health and safety of people who are maneuvering large machines or products or whatever it is they're doing, though that was brought about to help humankind, but of course as a consequence of that there's redundancy in employment, and that will continue whether we like it or not. So industry will benefit from the unfortunate label of AI because everybody's just using it and throwing it around nonchalantly with no real backbone of understanding what is going on behind that process, application or service. That's my first.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Please.
No. That was my 10 pence worth.
Oh,
I'm
no,
going.
well,
If you ask 100 people, I'm sure you get 100 different answers.
I mean, AI, you said whether you like it or not, it will replace a lot of jobs. It will,
Yeah, but then also
yes,
create new ones.
it will create new. But what happened when a robotic AI takes over? Well, not
Well,
takes
that's
over.
happened
It
as
comes
well.
in, comes into play where, but then robotic AI, they don't consume. There's no consumptions there, meaning that's part of spending and creating an economy and how should I say, like how do you create turnover if there's no consumption of product and usage, and that means spending and people earning from jobs. You said it will create new jobs, but then what? Everybody going to be in the tech sector? Everybody. But then when you have robotic AIs kind of outsmarting, they built them so good that they could do many things, literally like a hybrid human, you know. But these hybrid humans don't consume, don't need cars, don't need clothes, don't need food, don't need many things. They need ownerships. They don't care about owning and being territorial and contracts and all of that. Then how do you make the world go around? Then there's no activity,
I would
because we,
say
we were
that,
used to that. That's how we used to. That's the way we were structured. In order to get something, you have to create, you have to work and generate spending and economy and the whole wheel.
yep, that's life. Just get on with it. I mean, you've got robots building cars that done so for a long time. And if we ever reach the point at which these humanoids have the dexterity and a similar mindset to humans who can assist humankind for the better, yes, again, I mean, for example, if you've got these humanoids on a hospital ward attending to patients, providing them the drugs that they need and whatnot, yes, there's some redundancy, but what you gain is efficiency and accuracy
Yeah,
with that.
correct.
That's the good thing.
Well, I just heard statistics the other day that they said in 10 years from now, millions of jobs will be replaced and lost that humans were doing. Different kind of jobs, a lot of jobs going to be replaced within the next 10 years. And
Yeah.
I'm like, this is great, but then what's left for us to do? If all of
Adapt.
these jobs going to be replaced, then what do we study? What's the new generation going to be doing?
Well, the thing is, I touched upon, say, the humanoids doing one thing or another to assist humankind for the better. But then, if we have humanoids that are capable of, say, onto a spaceship, go to Mars, go to the moon, or go wherever, build an infrastructure ready for human habitation, then we can start populating other planets, because they can go out there. These humanoids can go out there. They don't need air or anything. They just need the energy to produce and the resources and materials
Correct.
to produce something that's habitable for humankind. So that's maybe the next evolution of humankind, is that. But it's about the granularity we offer these humanoids. But I think the last thing we need to do is to offer these humanoids the ability to be smarter than a human. That's a gross mistake, and that's something we may regret. So be careful what you wish for. But if
Correct.
we provide the granularity and awareness and consciousness and the ability to think and problem solve, then they can serve humankind to move to other planets where it's ready for human habitation.
I see.
That's just
So
one example.
you would say AI and humanoids should be really used, or robotic AI should be really used for more real advancement, not replacement. Not to think how do we could do this to replace certain things, but more of advancing
Yes,
scientifically, medically,
it's
technologically, in a way, as you said, inhabiting other places to live on.
yeah.
You know, and curing diseases and finding solutions that we've been trying to cure.
Yeah. I mean, I see a regular TV advert on the UK television. How you get these people asking for these charities asking for money to help cancer research, and I mean, I question how long this has been going on for, and it's been decades to seek money to help research. Well, how far forward? My mother died recently this year from lung cancer, and but we're no further forward with cancer.
Excuse me.
The actual treatment is so archaic, blasted with chemotherapy and radiation and all this kind of malarkey, which ultimately kills. I mean, my wife's mother she also had cancer, and she had treatment for that and whatnot, but it was the actual treatment that killed her.
Yeah.
Where are we? How far
Abs-
forward are we? Yeah.
Yes.
That raised that question. So if we can develop technology, techniques, I mean, exactly, but there's always that question.
Yeah.
So I think my argument was we don't seem to be any further forward in,
No.
in curing the disease. I remember what I was going to say. I'm sure you've seen it, but there is it's called artificial intelligence, but about pattern recognition in a mammogram, and they the AI system versus the physician, and the AI system was better at detecting patterns in the mammograms which alluded to breast cancer, whereas the doctor, who is fatigued, tired, he's probably seen about 20 patients in the day, and he's going through their scans and he's not really looking, whereas the AI system just boop 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 out it comes. So that's effective technology. That's effective, and that's what I like to see for the future, providing purpose. And whilst everybody claims, oh well, I'm not going to have a job anymore, adapt, evolve, or become redundant. And if we don't, and I would say as well, children now in school, as a primary thread to their education, should be mandatory, is technology. They should embrace that from day one if they can, because in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, how many years it's going to be? It's going to be all around us, and we're going to have to engage in it like we do today. And it's going to get more advanced, more creative, and I think we can produce a lot more results if humankind is grossly, actually totally aware of how to engage with the technology and how to get the best out of it.
Well said. Well said, definitely. How you think we going fast enough, or still we have ways ahead of us?
I think we have a long time to go. I think in the book I talked about the likelihood of superintelligence, what we see in the films, humanoids taking over the world and all that. I think to understand the mind and consciousness in the human body, we don't understand that now after all this medical research. And I think to achieve that, to replicate that in a machine, I dare say we're not going to see it in our lifetime, and perhaps even more so your children's lifetime. So I'm looking at maybe 50 to 100 years before we kind of get a glimpse of what we're striving toward, this transition from science fiction into reality. I don't think we're going to be around to see it. Maybe for good reasons, I don't know.
You think?
Yeah, I think it's a long way off.
It is. You think it would have an effect on the economy, and how do we deal with money and spending and working and earning? And obviously it's going to change everything. How do we look at money? How do we look at business? How does the whole thing works?
Well, I think I think largely that won't change. I mean, consumers are consumers, and if Maslow hierarchy of needs are still adopted by very many marketeers about needing something that you don't really need, but don't worry, we created a problem where you do need to pick it up. That ain't gonna change, and whether you got your phone generation 1, generation 2, or whatever 20 it is, that's going to happen. People like that cycle of products, and they will continue to purchase that. You'll continue to purchase better products for your house, your home, and likewise with the companies that are utilizing AI systems for aiding in many aspects of medicine. Well, that technology is also going to change. So that will create the economy. That will create a different kind of economy, perhaps. And I think it's not going to largely change. Yes, you've got the redundancy of the employment because of the technology has replaced their job. Well, I think good, because it's efficient and accurate, and often people come into work, they sit down with their coffee and a cigarette, and they can't be asked until they wake up, despite being on a train or a car, getting in, and they will get around to it when they can be asked to get around to it. Well, with a machine, you're not going to have that issue. They're just going to get on with it, and that's where the efficiency and accuracy comes into the process or business processes that are being utilized to help that company save money.
As you know, there's so many young entrepreneurs and older entrepreneurs. Everybody want to jump in on the bandwagon of AI and what the future holds, and want to be part of it, so nobody will miss out on it. And do you think that they taking the right approach? A lot of these entrepreneurs there's so many AI startups, so many. I don't know if they're really truly AI or just sometime the term being used loosely.
It's a fashion label.
Yes, I would say that. Yes.
I mean, yeah, it's a fashion label. Oh, I'm an AI startup. Oh, I work in AI. I do this in AI. Well, what exactly do you do? Well, I make software. Well, there you are. AI is clever programming. That's it. And so my philosophy with technology it's not building technology for technology's sake. When I started working with Bluetooth in the late 90s, all the marketeers, in the same way everybody's getting excited about AI, everyone was excited about Bluetooth and what it's going to achieve. It could do all this and sort of, and we were selling promises, empty promises to many people around us, and they weren't solving a problem. They were just using technology for technology's sake. So I like to take a stand back, look at the problem that needs to be solved, and then associate a technology that could help solve that problem, rather than we've got AI, let's do something with that. And I think that's a big mistake.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, very interesting. Any advice for some of these young entrepreneurs who wants to wear that AI hat and be part of it?
Understand the problem you're trying to solve. Is it right? Is it a right fit for your problem? Can another technology aid you in developing what you need to achieve for your product or your service? Mm-hmm. And how will it aid ultimately consumers and so on?
It seems like AI will be controlled by really a handful of companies, or maybe less even, with all these big data centers and these chips that being created, whether it's Microsoft or Nvidia or Facebook or Google or some of the, it's pretty much really a handful of companies. They're trying to get a hold of AI well, I would say handle. That's it. Like it's controlled by them, from data to chips to all of that.
So something I mentioned in Playing God, AI is useless without good quality data. So when I talk about the large language models, it
Yes,
relies on
LLM.
data
Yeah.
and good data sets, which it learns from. So, and of course, I mean, my wife uses Chat GPT sometimes for some of the stuff she does. Um, um, but what it has done is learned about how she expresses things, and it retains that information in her database of sorts, let's say, and it refers internally that oh, I know what you mean by this because I understood this from a previous prompt and so on. And yeah, it's good data, good quality data needs to fuel AI, and largely most companies don't really understand what to do with data. I remember developing a product, a smart injector. It was designed for patients who had arthritis, and there's a particular drug that aided them in their recovery and ability to use their hands and so on. But they didn't have the dexterity to inject themselves. So this smart injector, once it came into contact with the skin, it would inject the medication. But I built the ecosystem such that not only was the product assigned to that patient, there was a record and history of that. So the actual device, the gateway used to connect to the enterprise and the back end, and the physicians who were also monitoring that patient's treatment would understand the amount that's being used and so on. And when I presented this to the company about all this massive information that could be used and aid that patient, the physicians, healthcare professionals and so on, whether the product is damaged or need replacing because the patient dropped it, for example, they were just overwhelmed and just said, we don't know what to do with this. And despite me sketching out everything about how to achieve this, it was beyond them. They were overwhelmed with the data. And that's largely things I see today. They don't understand. You have data scientists, but it's the format of that data. I mean, we talk about IoT systems. And again, this is where there's that crossover between IoT and AI, and there's a confusion because I was developing IoT ecosystems to capture all this data and so on. But now it's called AI for some reason. And I don't understand that. It's just confusing for everyone.
Interesting. Well,
And so
very
is data.
insightful, I have to say. Very insightful. What's next for you, Dr. Dean?
Well, oddly, we talked about it. So I'm writing a new book, doing it solo this time. My wife is occupied with more important things, of course. And I'm writing a new book about superintelligence.
Superintelligence.
And because in part I talk about superintelligence in playing God, how such, and I have to make this distinction as well, because if we develop superintelligent agents that have the capacity to think and so on and so on, well, that becomes an entity, that becomes a life form of sorts, that becomes a being, because if it can question its own existence, then where does the AI come into it? Because it's no longer artificial intelligence. It's a life. It's a being, and it's smart enough to do all the things that humans can do. And that's something I touched upon in playing God, and I take that as a base or foundation to expand this notion into the book I'm writing now.
Interesting. And when do you think
I
this
don't
book
mean to
will be
bore
out?
you. I don't mean to
No,
bore.
no. This is very extremely interesting. I mean, this is something that we need to learn about, and having such books available, and a person like you actually contributing and writing all this information, you're really contributing to society, to advancement, to that AI movement that we call ourselves, that we in it. I don't know how much positivity been contributed to it, and how much more I would say, money driven instead of really advancing. I mean, there's two types or two kind of, how should I say, when somebody does something, there's always either motivated by truly advancing humanity and helping and see where are we going next, what's next for humans and humanity, and other just driven by pure generating revenues.
Yeah, greed.
Well, nothing wrong. You need money, but there's ways of doing it and still contribute positivity to it.
Yeah. And that's why I'm eager to strengthen the argument that let's develop technology for humankind and do so for the better, not with greed or income or whatnot. That might be incidental to our objective, but let's do it for the right reasons.
The right reasons, yes. Yes, absolutely. Well, Dr. Dean, I mean, I would say this conversation really could continue for hours, actually, because there's so much to talk about, so many insights and so much insights that you know and knowledge that you have that we could bring in and on to the show and talk more and more about it. Definitely would love to have you again. I want to thank you for joining us. I know we've been trying to get you on the show for a minute, and we finally did, and definitely it was a pleasure having you on INNOV-8 Presents Entrepreneurs in Tech. And just for our audience, be sure to connect with us on social media. Till next time, keep innovating and stay curious and think outside the box.
Absolutely.
Yes, take care. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to share INNOV-8 Presents Entrepreneurs in Tech podcast. And if you're joining us on YouTube, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time.